Good evening, everybody. Josh here, and I'm getting ready to start drawing, finish inking, or start inking the body and outline of the Spartan. As you can see here, I got some. It's a little bit blurry. Let me get the focus in. There we go. Kind of hard to see a little bit, but you see we did this yesterday on the last one. Didn't take very long, about an hour to do this, mainly because I was talking too much. So today I'm going to kind of draw and not talk too much. I'm going to do just an hour for you guys, and we're just going to go through this process however long it takes to finish this piece. My week is kind of busy, so I'm trying to build out time, and I apologize I didn't get this morning. I'm getting sick again, which I don't understand, to tell you the truth, but give me one moment. Meanwhile, I wish I had a piece of paper that said, wait a second. Anyways, hold off. I'm going to blow my nose. I'll be right back. Enjoy some music. All right, let's begin. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joshua Lamb. I am an ink artist. I'm an artist, all-around artist, actually. And I am starting the journey of not only teaching art, but also doing art again. And I've been trying to do it for quite some time and have just been too busy finishing up film work and documentaries and work and family life and all the jazz. But I'm very happy to be here with you and start drawing. So let's begin. We're going to begin with him. And if I'm blocking the view, I apologize. I'm trying not to. Still figuring out how to get my camera set up correctly. Now, what I should do is avoid drawing anything other than the water, because the water on the top of the figure will help me proceed further down the drawing. So yeah. And then we'll blacken everything later on. Okay, so that's the raindrop coming in front of him. Where did my ruler go? Ah. Okay. Now I made a really dumb mistake by intersecting this and this. Okay. So when you make a mistake like this, and like, so I have this rain coming here, it shouldn't have this line intersecting. They should just blend in And all these whites should just kind of be a cross-hatching blending in, honestly. Kind of like cutting him up in glass pieces. Because that would be the difference between an arrow and rain, right? Man, I can't believe I did that. So how do I fix that? It's not too hard, it's just a little annoying. So what I'm going to do is recreate this raindrop coming from this angle and meeting it at its top, which will mean I'll have to cut through a little bit of his face. Let's do this. I guess that won't work either. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to be careful from now on. That's all I'm going to say. I'll go in and build. See, this is what's hard about the rain. Unless you're doing it, I can go in here, fix this later with some white, and which I may do at the end. But man, that's not cool. I can't believe I did that right off the bat. I think I was just too focused on other stuff. So you got to keep an eye out on intersecting rain. So there's nothing else coming this direction except for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this line here. I can't believe I did that. It's a major point in the image, but not impossible to fix, just a little annoying. How am I gonna do this one? Booyah. Nope, did it again. Darn it. Josh, what are you doing? This is what you would call a mistake. A massive mistake. How do I change that? All right, forget it. I'm just gonna do it later. I'll do it later. This is why you'd want to do the water first, because it helps figuring out the details. Now the splashes don't have to be intersecting. They could be. They probably would look better, honestly, if they were. But I'm not going to do that because it's just, I don't know. I want to see what it looks like without the all black and all white perfect lines in there. Sorry, my sniffles are getting out of hand today. I deleted the wrong one. I try to sniffle by turning off the mic, and I turned off the video. My bad. Let me try that again. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that, because I'm sorry. I'm just human. Man, I can't believe I did this one. So, part of Inkology is not only just drawing religious and historical figures that I enjoy, but I wanted to kind of use this as a platform to talk about and encourage people in the faiths, in all kinds of faiths, but mainly the Christian faith. And the reason why is because I see that Christianity has this very huge stronghold in our modern society around the world. And I think a lot of people, I have been a believer myself since I was born, right? I was born into it as a worship pastor's kid, and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. Even till today, I still believe. But do I believe in the Israelite God? Do I believe that Jesus was real? And all that kind of stuff is totally different. And that's because from the get-go in my youth, I just didn't believe in a lot of the nonsense that the Bible spouted out. And here's why. Because when you mention giants, Leviathan, demons falling from the sky, angels that are full of eyes and terrifying wheels in the sky, and four horsemen, and all these kind of mystical things that have never been seen and never been proven, you're left with the thought of going, well, what's the difference between doing this and a comic book, right? And people are Christians are, I've heard this over and over, even from myself, because I used to be an evangelical fanatic, and and what it is it's just honestly, I hate to be rude about it because it's going to sound rude coming out of my mouth, but it's not. I'm just being factual, and it's the theology we built based off of the people that we are around. The pastors, oftentimes, we don't usually get our theology on our own. I've seen it mostly built off of the church that they attend or the pastors that they listen to. And this is going to be kind of dangerous, I believe, because no matter what church you go to, no church is going to work with the other church, and no church is going to admit that they could be wrong in their theology. And a lot of pastors and leaders of the Christian organization and foundation do not teach you the truth. They teach you their thoughts and their theology of Scripture, but not the actual truth of history, which is quite important. Quite important. So I grew up on Nat Geo, Discovery Channel, and stuff like that. So I wanted to show people the beauty of living on this planet without having all these strange doctrine rules affect the creation and the beauty of life and the one chance that we have to live. So I'm not saying don't believe in God and all that stuff. I'm not doing that. That's your thoughts. I don't really care what God you believe in or how you believe in it, even as long as you're not harming people. But as part of what this channel wants to be, I'm going to be doing an extra section of this channel to talk about these things as an artist, as a creative, as a traveler, as a person who loves both the spiritual world and the physical and reality in it all. But yeah, I'm going to put you on pause for a second, though, because I got to blow a nose. And I hope people don't hear this and say, "Oh, Josh is going to be preaching his own theology." Well, technically, we all preach our own theology when we talk about religion. But what I do is I like to study the history and archaeology. As you can see with my previous arts and designs, I do not claim to be a Christian. Never really have. I worked at a church and stuff like that before, and all that kind of jazz. But I avoided calling myself a Christian because, well, for one, I don't see anyone acting like Christ. Just period. Nobody's doing Christ stuff. I'm sorry. No one's out there healing the sick and giving up all their riches and avoiding drinking beer in the evenings, trying to be like Christ. They're just taking. We're all cherry picking the Bible to fit our desirable needs of social interactions and feeling good about what we do and we don't do. And if you have a God that just forgives you over a simple prayer, then obviously you can get away with a lot more things in life. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because the issue of it all isn't based in the fact that people believe in God and all these things. The issue lies and how we've allowed it to affect our relationships and the way we process critical thinking of information. Now, if you haven't read any books by Bart D. Ehrman, I highly suggest you do. If you like the Bible and if you really enjoy theology of the Christian faith, he breaks it down beautifully, scientifically, historically, logically, and it's really good. Because you get to see the missing gospels, and he talks about all the different aspects of the Bible's creation, right? It wasn't just like some guys in Nicaea came together and said, "Hey, these are the books." They didn't even decide that in Nicaea, but everyone thinks that. This is how theology gets spread wrong. They actually only decided the theology of the Trinity in Nicaea. And there's a lot of arguments between great bishops and others. And you can even find in the Bible itself disagrees with itself. With Paul doesn't actually agree with the disciples that were alongside Jesus a lot of the time. And you don't even hear what the disciples went to. It just stops, and then there's some added scripture that comes out for the centuries, and then we have Paul writing, his thoughts on everything. And Paul tried his best. But I think he also failed miserably by creating doctrine for certain churches to help them out. But then we as humans don't know how to decipher that very well. So we just take the doctrine and say, oh, this is the way you're supposed to do it. Women should be quiet in church. They're not spiritually as good as men, and stuff like that. All kinds of weird stuff. So I want to talk about that. I want to help people come to know their faith better, but also how we can help people who are aggressive with it. Whew. Okay, I'm getting sick again. I don't know what happened. I think it's my bedroom. Every time I sleep in his bedroom, like that, I don't know what it is. It must be dust or something. Whew. Jesus, help me. Yeah, so part of my vlog is also for me to brain dump. So if you don't like listening to my talking and stuff like that, or you don't disagree, if you disagree with it, first of all, I want to apologize because I don't want you to feel that I'm trying to preach or teach you anything. That is the farthest. I don't want to be a preacher. I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to be anything other than just me and an artist. And I want to draw. I want to draw a lot. So I apologize. It's not my goal to convert you or anything like that. I don't care. I really just don't care to convert you at all. Now, if you become converted by it, okay, kudos on you. I hope you found hope in it and you didn't find anything negative. One example is actually, lately I've been posting a lot more of trying to help my brothers in the faith understand the truth about the Bible and things that aren't taught in church because of agendas by pastors. I'm not a fan of pastors, honestly. And the reason why is because I have never seen a real pastor. I've seen pastors kind of attempt to play holy and play all this, and it's their attempt because they don't really know how to do what Jesus was doing, right? It's not their fault either, honestly. Sometimes it is. You got some mega church pastors, like, I don't like calling people out. That's not my thing, but I do want to warn you of some, like Kenneth Copeland. He is a very aggressive and very dangerous pastor because he preaches prosperity, meaning give him lots of money, let him buy all the jets he wants, and you'll be blessed by God for it. And this is a trickery of scripture because he pulls specific scripture in order to convince you and also deceive you into false theology and very corruptive. And if anything, the Bible would warn people about people like Kenneth Copeland, Jesse Duplantis, and who else is there? My goodness, there's a lot. There's a new guy coming, like kind of become popular, Cliff something. Cliff, I don't know his name. But he's actually pretty good. I like him in many ways because he tries. But the issue is he attacks uneducated people, like at colleges, that are going through emotional and spiritual conflict, and he catches them in that, which is a cheap move, I think. Because once you have them in the youth, right? If you converted someone in the youth, the likelihood of them staying is very high. And a lot of people who find out that they've been tricked and duped actually leave the faith, and then they feel burnt by it, and they don't believe in the Bible and God and stuff like that sometimes, and that's not cool. And because the one thing that the Bible was trying to do, or at least the story of Jesus was trying to do, was be a remedy to the human condition, if that makes any sense. Um, it's one of the most unique stories in all of history that we claim that there was a God who became man to forgive us for all of our mishaps, whether he knew us personally or not. And we say that he knows us personally because that's just our way of, I guess, making the excuse that we get it, but we don't have any verifiable proof. That's just not how it works, right? And so, in which we create a lot of theology to make up excuses like, oh, God's infinite, but he limited himself to become man, and just wacky things. Wacky things that aren't even in the Bible. And the one thing that I don't like is that the Bible excludes a lot of ancient text that is highly, highly necessary to understand the ancient times and the way to how they were pursuing their own faith back in antiquity. And it even hinders the message of Christ when you don't include the Gospel of Judas or Mary or all these other beautiful texts. And I find that unfair that churches and pastors will be like, well, those are Gnostic, or those weren't accepted because they're blasphemous or whatever. It's like, well, who's to say these aren't blasphemous to a certain person's theology? So I get a little frustrated, and I find that if one becomes atheist, they may be considered bitter. I've been called bitter. I've had pastors and Christians, my own friends, call me bitter, and I'm like, what is bitter about? What? I still serve. I mean, I still believe in this stuff. I don't get where you're coming from, but this is because they've been taught by their pastors to react that way and call people bitter. They don't know how to address someone who's left the church, which I don't go to church because churches are oftentimes very corrupt. I've worked at mega churches, or big churches at least, like there's one here called Reality Los Angeles, and they seem super hip and cool and super into things and whatever, but it didn't take long for me to realize that this was just all a ploy to get more money for the pastors who make more than $100,000 a year just to preach on Sundays and do a few little ordainings and stuff like that. And when I approached them with asking them to do more, like helping the homeless and stuff that are right outside or literally sleeping at our office doorstep, they would step over them, right, and go to the office and not even offer them water or help them up or ask how they're doing or know their names or anything. And I thought that was super offensive to me, and that is offensive to me. I don't think that's fair. We would have people, man. Anyways, that's me bringing up my history to get rowdy, and I don't want to do that. Like I said before, I don't like talking trash about people, and I'm trying to avoid becoming that kind of person. But like I was saying, my channel is, I want to do kind of a motivational section to help people who are wanting to know their faith better, whether the faith be Islamic, whether it be if they're Muslims or if they're Christians or if they're Buddhists or whatever. I want to help the person understand through art that we have to be careful not to place rules and structure in our lives that could be damaging. Oh man, my nose. And just, be a different perspective, because I think you've got the people who are trying to tear down the religion and Christianity, and that's not good, because it's hindering people who are looking for hope, who need hope, whether it's in any form it comes, and they need it. I was there at one point. I was addicted to drugs and many other things, and did a lot of bad stuff. I was a dealer. I was a pretty bad dude, and it was the faith that kind of pulled me out. It was. It absolutely was. Because I finally was able to forgive myself, and I felt like someone was forgiving me, right? And that's where the story of Jesus comes in. Now, that's fine. That is absolutely 100% fine. What's dangerous is the is the rules that follow it and the subtle persecution that we do as Christians. I'm not a Christian, but as a person who believes in the faith, we like to stamp people out by saying, oh, they're going to hell if they don't believe this way or that way, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that is what I want to fight against, but in a much more nicer way for both atheists and believers of the faith. It'll be quite hard for me to do this because I'd have to teach everyone certain things that I think are going to really crack their belief system a little bit. But you got to do it. The white side of my family, my father's side, is extremely religious. Oh man, I made that line again. Darn, I missed it. See that? Man, oh man. I'm just going to have to put white out over it. That's what I'm just going to have to do. But I hope that makes sense, you know. I don't know if that makes sense. Ooh, that line doesn't even line up. Uh-oh. How do we fix that? We just continue the line, baby. Huh. Whatever. Yowza. So I hope that makes sense where this channel is going to go. And if you start seeing me put out these videos where I'm a talking head, it's not because I want to. I definitely do not want to be on screen. But I have realized that it is one of the fastest way for people to not only trust what you're saying is coming from your heart, but it's also something that just YouTube people like to see. They like to look at people. That's why I'm a cinematographer, filmmaker, is because I can be behind the camera. I don't have to be in front of it. That's for actors and people who like the limelight. Not me. It's awkward. Not a fan. But I have to do it, I feel. And if it fails, that's good too, because then I don't have to do it anymore. But one thing as I don't like is injustice. And injustice rampages the religious world quite heavily. My family doesn't like me going this route. In fact, they totally disagree with it because they're super religious. My mom's okay. My dad, whew, talk about a man who doesn't seem to learn anything. Their ears are quite closed, you know. Because once a person believes in their faith and they think they've got it all figured out, they're pretty much impossible to teach. It's not like I'm trying to convert them to not believe. It's just they're ignoring historical facts. Like, here's one. The story, if you know anything about the Bible, there's one of my favorite stories where Jesus is he's approached by these Pharisees and they're trying to capture him in this theological debate where they're like, hey, we found a woman doing adultery. We caught her in the act, right? A whole bunch of Pharisees caught her, which is weird because you know they've been watching her have sex then. But either way, they bring her to Jesus and they throw her to the front and they're going to stone her. Like, hey, what should we do? Should we stone her or let her go? And if he says stone her, then he goes against his whole ministry of being loving. But if he says the other, then he's breaking the law of Moses, which Jesus was a Jew and he was preaching to the Jews. So then it would be counter also. Instead, Jesus just kneels down and starts writing in the sand or drawing in the sand. And they start leaving one by one. And he tells the woman caught in adultery, he's like, hey, is there anyone here to accuse you? And she's like, nah. And he's like, well, I don't accuse you either, dude. Go and don't sin anymore. You know, that's it. This actually was inputted into the Bible much later, not actually in the original text, but I always thought it was. I didn't even think to question it because it was in the Gospels, right? I just love that story. I was like, dude, that's dope. Jesus, he's an artist. He knew what he was doing. But then to find out that that was inputted later because Christians needed, or at least a specific sector of Christians needed to prove their own theology and to make it work, right? They needed to make it work. So they needed to make Jesus seem like he was both able to confront such situations and be, the Son of God, but also beyond righteousness as they were trying to capture him into the act. I'm drawn way up here. No. And so when I tell my father this, he just can't even accept it because he doesn't understand it. He's like, what do you mean? That can't be real. Who are you learning this from? And it's like, well, I learned it from the same people you're learning. The pastors should be learning it from. Historians, archaeologists, theologians that actually don't allow their religion and beliefs to counter facts and actual historical documents. Like, the Bible isn't the only document. In fact, it's almost virtually a Scientology book. You know what I mean? Or it's the Book of Mormon or Jehovah's Witness. It's like this. It's just a perception of Israelites' religion, but it isn't historically accurate because we can see through the Romans and the Greeks that a lot of this stuff and the dates and stuff like that never happened. And these people didn't rule at these times. They ruled totally different times, or if not at all. But the Israelites needed to build their own narrative, which most countries do. Most civilizations will build their own narrative in war. If let's say the Nazis were still around, right? Or if they won World War II, or let's say they didn't win World War II, but we just didn't kill them all off, or they didn't stop, or whatever. Not that they're all killed off or something, but they would write their own history. They would tell their own history in Germany. They'd be like, oh, well, we did this, we did that. Japan has done that. Korea has done that. Every country usually writes their own history because they want to create a very special meaning for their land and people and such, right? And the Bible's no different, not at all. So when I teach these things, I don't want people to get offended. I don't want them to be hurt by anything. I want them to understand that these are truths that we have to understand and we have to put in place of our faith, and then let it build off of it if that's still the case. Because if you can still believe in hope of any kind, even though you know that it's built off of inaccurate stuff, then you're not building it on sand, really. You're building it on a solid rock, because you're building it on an experience and understanding that you've developed through testing, instead of just blindly believing something. Most of my family will only respond if I tell them this, that, well, Jesus is the truth, light, and the way. You don't believe him, you're going to hell. And that's literally their only response. They can't debate it with facts or history because they don't know it, and that's not their fault. It really is not their fault. So when I see non-believers rip on Christians and tell them that this is this, and they get mad why they can't believe and all that stuff, you can't blame these people. They weren't taught this in the fashion that most people will need to be learning things. The schools definitely don't teach it. It's not their duty to teach it. It's churches, and churches are run by men. Most of the time men, not women. And men who want power and enjoy being on stage in front of lights and people listening to their words and making them feel like they're of value. That's just plain out the truth. This is taking a long time to draw this rain. I said I wasn't even going to talk very much either. Okay, I've got a lot of this hard part stuff done. Yeah, so that's it. Just going to start that, and it's going to be based a little bit like Mr. Rogers. So I'm going to try to be as kind as possible. It's going to be hopefully kid friendly. I'm not trying to convert kids away from church, people, so don't think that. or God or whatever you believe in. I'm not trying to convert them, but they need to learn correctly. Otherwise, they'll become iconoclastic, idealistic, fundamentalist Christians that will do more harm than actually good. I know because I was once one. Oh, man. But I don't know everything. So if you think that I am acting like I know everything, I don't know everything. I don't know anything. Everything I say can be changed tomorrow, and I could be proven wrong by a whole new discovery. So don't take my word for it. Just if you like what I say and you think that there's some solid foundation to it, that's great. If you hate what I have to say, then put it on mute or put in a comment that you hate me. Or you don't like what I'm saying. Whatever you want, it's, you know, that's fine. YouTube, I don't know why people let YouTube comments get to them. I really don't, because that means they've never been bullied in their life, I feel like, because I grew up being bullied, racially bullied, got into so many fights because I was Korean in a white redneck neighborhood. So having comments on YouTube is just like, whatever. So they're going to say, oh, you're a dumb turd, idiot, don't know, blah, 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 I don't know. All these kind of things, which is fine. Absolutely 100% fine. They have the right to say that about me. Don't say it about my family because you don't know them, but I'm giving you opportunity to rip on me. So, you know what I mean? Like, which is cool. Being ripped on is funny, just hilarious to me. I had a debate with a friend recently. His logic is so wild, I couldn't handle it. I had to debate him. He couldn't use any facts about anything. He just had to just spout, well, this said, the Bible says this, and if you don't believe in Jesus is the truth, life, and the way, or whatever, then blah, blah, blah. And that's all it does. He just couldn't come up with any real debatable topics or proof of anything. And at the end of it, he was so angry. He was pretty much screaming through the text, and it was all on Facebook too. And I was like, you know, I have an opportunity here to respond with just as much anger because he's calling me out in the most ridiculous way. Or I could practice something very Christ-like and say, hey, man, I totally get you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel offended. I love you either way around it, and I really appreciate the debate. I appreciate it because this is what I want. I want you to debate me. I want to see where theology cracks for people. And after that, his tone changed on my next post, and in the next comment, you can hear that he still has some resentment, but it wasn't as aggressive as he was about to get with me. And I think that was great because it actually showed that I could approach people differently than a lot of people who are angry at the church. And I also could approach it differently than a lot of people who are just ignorant about their faith, right? And that's what I want. That's what I want to do. No. I know I'm not talking about Spartans right now, and I'm sorry. I really am. If you want to hear the history, there's tons of videos on YouTube about the history that does it way better than I do. Because I'm going to forget stuff, and I'm just drawing Spartans right now. Sorry. Whew. Okay, this is tough. I am dying right here with this new sickness I'm getting. I can feel it. I can feel me getting sick. How about that? Ain't that crazy? You know when you're getting sick is when you start breathing hot air through your nose and mouth, and you're like, oh boy. And then like obviously I'm sniffling and got phlegm, but the question is how bad is it going to be? How long is it going to last? Why am I getting sick twice? I just got over my yearly major sickness. Man, it's not cool. Not cool, dude. Yeah. Anyways, let's get back on topic, and I'll stop boring you with my own plans and theology and stuff. I should probably finish up this little section and this section here, so then I can start coloring and drawing this guy in. I did have a raindrop here, but I'm going to just go ahead and finish the raindrop. This is a way to cheat if I don't have it, right? You can go this and make it seem like the rain is finishing. Yeah, but like, Spartans here, quite interestingly enough, are very religious, right? I think I mentioned this before. And I wonder, as a people who were just built off of being warriors, how strong that theology must have been. It must have been so intense of a belief. You know what I mean? Like, it must have been intense for you to go up there and have to wait for these guys who are like predicting the future and making decisions about life and how to live based off of what? And it's such a strong country of devoted people. I mean, that must have been a great strength of a religion. Quite fascinating. I would never want to run into a Spartan. They would just seem like they just want to kill you just for the kicks and giggles. I mean, they weren't. They were kind of like the police back then, I guess. But still wouldn't want to run into these guys. They could have a bad day and then you'd be done for. Oh, man. Nose. Man, oh, man. I don't imagine I'm going to get a lot of views on my vlogging and morning drawing. I mean, my drawings like this, because they don't really show a final product right away, and I think a lot of people are searching for like the final product. But I just wanted to keep content out there, something to listen to, someone, hearing an artist express their life and their mindset, whether you agree with it or not, I do not expect you to agree with me at all, actually. That's right, Charlie. I know, you don't agree with me either. Okay, I'm sorry. What? No, I don't have any. No, that's my belief, not yours. Yeah, he says, what? That's ridiculous. No, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, he's mad because he thinks I should be kind of more, I should like pull out the book and kind of describe religions and stuff thoroughly before I give my own theology. It's just too much work. He's out of his mind. Dogs these days are just so entitled. Especially my pug. He is super entitled. Thinks he knows best. You're like 27 in dog years. Still younger than me, buddy. Got a decade or more on you. Cute dog, though. Very cute. Okay, so it's coming together. You can see the lines are coming in, and all these little parts where I've kind of messed up and glitchy. Don't worry about that when you're drawing. You're going to go afterwards and start coloring it, and the blacks and the darkness behind it is going to outdo it anyways. So you're just not going to worry. You can cover up a lot of these mistakes. Ink is many people think that ink isn't forgiving. I find it to be one of the most forgiving, more forgiving than pencil, because when you mess up on pencil, you can the lines are much more difficult to get rid of once you've drawn it multiple times, right? And in that case, you know, you can see your mess ups and your erasing marks and all that stuff. But with ink, if you know how to cover up an ink issue well, no one will ever know. So I've learned to. Oh man, I have a rain coming this direction, but from where? Ah, there. I see. I erased that line and it was too thin. So instead of actually drawing a raindrop that's passing through like that, I'm going to go ahead and erase this raindrop line. And create a water issue with him going down. Oh man, you gotta be careful because water has to be smooth. If it's not smooth and it's kind of like jaggedy, it'll look like tree limbs or something, you know, and it'll look kind of not right. So be careful. Let it flow with the body. Yeah. Make sure it flows with the curvature of the muscles. And you're going to have a much better look to it and feel to it. Even down here, let's move to his thigh real quick so I'll give you an example. Yeah, smooth lines, good lines. If you're a religious person, I would love to know your religion, your beliefs, how you came to believe in what you believed in, you know. Let me know. I don't judge you. I don't judge you. You want to hear a funny story? I'm going to say this. It's really weird. So the way I came to Christ and came to know God was because my father was a worship pastor and whatnot, and I was kind of, they said that my mother got saved by the Holy Spirit and shouted out the name because she wasn't able to have any kids any longer, but God blessed her with a child, and he would name him Yeshua. She has an accent because she's Korean, but they all knew that it was Joshua is what she was trying to say. So they named me Joshua. And my last name is Lamb, like the animal, Lamb. So Joshua Lamb. But my middle name, I just found out, is very cool. My middle name is Floyd. My grandfather's name is Floyd. But Floyd, I looked up the meaning of Floyd, and it means gray or brown, which are the two colors I wear all the time. Look at this. I'm wearing gray. All this stuff is brown right here. I can't see it, but I got brown stuff everywhere because I love chocolate and I love brown. I love the dookie color. Brown is one of my favorite colors. Dookie brown should be my wardrobe. I don't know why I love it. It's a very comforting color. It reminds me of nature. And I think I'm a big fan of Steve Irwin from when he was alive. And his son is amazing. Gosh, what a great guy. And man, I need to figure out that area. So maybe I'll work on this section here today. How long we been running, huh? 50 minutes? I'm not gonna worry about it. But yeah, so my name has kind of got this really, and my my grandmother's family lineage name is Adams, like Adam and Eve, you know. And my grandfather is Lamb, So my whole family is based off this very Christian religious perspective of names, and but they didn't plan on it to be that way, name me like this. And the name Joshua actually is the English translation of Jesus, which is Yeshua, right? It doesn't go to my head. I am not Jesus. I am not the second coming. If anything, I'd probably be more closer to the Antichrist than Jesus, because I'm just not as nice and kind as that historical, amazing Son of Man character. Just not me, man. But I also don't really believe in hell either, so I don't really let that get to me. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I just said that, but I think it comes from the whole religious aspect of I don't know. I've looked in the Bible for hell, and hell doesn't really exist in the Bible except for Sheol, but then it's the concept of it is wackily different than what we do think of it today. And it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. That if a God that loved us and was sending His Son to forgive us and all this kind of stuff was do that we would serve eternity. And I mean eternity. Come on, it's hard enough to think someone going to jail for 40 years to life, right? Wasting their entire experience of their one creation on life to be subject to, this life in a prison cell, in a cage, because of some bad decision they made. But I mean, they definitely deserve it. A lot of them, not a lot of them. There's many that do deserve it. I don't think a lot of them. I think there's a lot of people in prison that don't deserve to be there. But murderers, molesters, and people who do awful things definitely should be caged up. Honestly, they kind of should be on an island and defend for themselves, because that way they have to learn to be self-sufficient, but also learn to survive, and maybe they'll have more respect for life. I don't think there's a program in prison that teaches people to respect life again. It just makes them suffer it, and that is not cool. Not a fan of that. I don't know if you've ever been in handcuffs, but it's definitely not fun. And then going to jail is not fun, and all that kind of stuff is not fun. I used to be in handcuffs all the time, to the point where I learned how to get out of them pretty well. Cops would be so mad when they come back to the car and I'm just sitting there with my hands in front with oh man, they get pissed. But I always think it's funny because they have to let me go because they don't have, most of the time I don't get caught with it. The drugs and stuff like that back in the day. I would just eat it right then and there when I saw the cop car pull up, and then suffer the consequences of eating it. Ugh. Talk about intense. Don't recommend it. If you do drugs, don't do it. That's all I can say. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know it's not good for you. You know it doesn't help life. Makes you feel good for half a millisecond, and then the rest of it, you feel like junk, spending money getting it and trying to find it, and people don't. It's just not good because drugs weren't meant to be taken that way. That's why I think a lot of ancient cultures use it as a religious thing or kind of a ritual thing, because using it as recreational is highly unproductive, extremely unproductive. It hinders you from doing anything, really. And people say they can smoke and get things done, which they may be able to for sure, but that's not everybody, and I think to put that out there, I think that's a dangerous thing to claim, Anyways, I'm trying to be real with you guys. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you real stuff, real experiences, real life. Encourage you that I'm not just an artist, I'm more than that, and so are you. You're more than that. You're not just a person who goes to work 9 to 5. You're not a person who just draws, or you're not a person who has to wake up and do life and then come back, go to sleep, and do it all over again. That's not who you are. You're someone unique and amazing and special, and talented and has a drive and loves learning, and that's why you're watching this video, because you enjoy learning and you enjoy experiencing life in a different way. And I want to be there to help you get there. I want to be a part of your life in a way, as much as I can. I'm going to be joining a program soon for Big Brother here in LA, to be a big brother to some boys and really, take care of these guys and show them how to be creative and enjoy life, because their parents are busy. And there's actually two Korean kids that someone was mentioning that I should apply for to be their mentor or their big brother. And one of the boys he's on the spectrum. And my nephew's a spectrum. I've grown up around kids in spectrum. When I went to school, in high school and middle school, I actually befriended most of the kids in those classes that were on the spectrum, because I hated how people treated them. I hate so much how kids can be so mean, because they don't understand, and they're treating these kids who have Downs and stuff like just grossly mean, like spitting on and telling they're stupid and all these kind of things. Like, first of all, these kids don't really understand why you're angry. They just want to be a part of the cool stuff that we all have the ability to do when we don't have those kind of issues in our minds and life. And yeah, I love them so much. Their hearts are bigger than most people, and I don't know how to explain it. They try their best to be a part of the world that we've created, and sometimes they pull the bad stuff that we've created. So yeah, hopefully I'll get these kids, they're brothers, and they're Korean from what I hear, so that'd be great. I get to speak Korean to them, and maybe I can take them to KCON next year when I do KCON. KCON is a Korean pop convention here in Los Angeles. I do a lot of gigs where I film and do the video work and cinematography for events and stuff. And I try to get my friends tickets, to see these concerts, because, there's really big names there. I don't know if you know K-pop, but like XG, New Jeans, and stuff. I don't think New Jeans were there this year, or even XG. Maybe they were. No, I think they were. I wish I would have saw them too. I did see them, but I didn't get to interview them. BTS is rarely there because they're too big at this point, and plus they're in their military in Korea. But these are things that girls go nuts about, and the kids just are livid when they they don't know it. They can't go or something. But very fun, lots of cool stuff. This year wasn't that great, but the year before and before the pandemic, it was awesome. Okay. So we are here at... I'm going to start drawing at this perspective so you can see better. The camera... I wonder if it's in focus. Is it not in focus? Yeah, that's a little bit better, right? A little bit darker is okay, right, for the viewers. All right, let's move into... We're an hour into this session, and that's all I've done. But that's a lot, actually. That's a buttload, because that's going to give me the basis of actually moving forward in the rest of the drawing. I will be able to get a lot of this part done tomorrow, and then move on to this area the next day. So that's Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. I don't want to do weekend videos, but I might continue just to get this piece done, because I need to get to the Samson and Delilah one I need to finish up, which is quite beautiful. I don't know where it's at. I really like the way it's coming out, and I usually don't like my artwork. I don't like my artwork all that much, is what I'm saying. I like my artwork. I wouldn't do it if I didn't. All right, let's begin. I'm going to start with the furs of the Spartan helmet. Oh, goodness. I've realized that 10% of my viewers are watching from India or speak Hindu. So I need to figure out how to. I mean, I imagine they understand English well enough, but because I couldn't really write, I think there's too many languages there, isn't there? I don't know. Thought about translating this into Korean. That's a lot of work, and I ain't got money to do all that translation or spend time doing it, actually. But if you want a different language, please let me know. If you have questions, if you have comments, please put them down below for sure. Also, if you can, please like and subscribe to my channels and my videos. It's the closer I get to reaching 1,000 followers or subscribers, whatever this is for YouTube, the closer I am to start being able to monetize. I would like by the end of the year, 2024, to be not doing my other jobs, being away from film, and just be teaching and doing art and helping people in their religious journeys and their history journeys and stuff like that with art. You want to know a top secret? I'm going to say it real quick. If you actually made it this far into the video, here's the secret that's going to change the world. I spent the last 32 years, 31 years, 32 years since I was about 6 or 7 years old, developing concept that would change the world. And you're like, what? No. Yeah, I have. I might have mentioned this once before briefly, but what it is that I want to rewrite the Bible, but with all the books that they excluded from it, but not just write it. I don't want to write it. I don't want to even put words in it really, but I want to do it in a way that has, it's all art, all ink art. So you got Genesis, the first sentence, in the beginning, the heavens and the earth, whatever. My brain's going dumb. But that one verse would be one full image, right? And explaining that verse. And then each verse I would just draw out this full page art piece that was just, it would be so glorious. And if I do that for every single book, the Book of Enoch, all the other books that have been included into the religion that's created the theology of this religion, of Christianity, I think I can change the religion altogether. Yeah, it's a big goal. It seems almost impossible, to tell you the truth. And people don't like it, and people disagree with it, which means that's why I got to do it. When people hate on it, that means you're doing something right. And what I've learned is that there is so much division in the Christian faith because too many people are interpreting the Bible through the words that have been highly edited and changed throughout history to get where we're at today with the Holy Bible or King James or ESV or whatever you're reading. These are all been manipulated by men or by leaders of the church to push their narrative. Absolutely. There's not even a question that that's what's happened, because that's what's fact, right? You can ask any historian and person who knows it, and that's what they have to admit, because that's what has happened. We have verifiable proof through documentation that that's what's happened. But the thing is that no one's drawn it. They've done comic books of it, and they've done great. These artists have done great doing it, but it stands as a comic book. And I've been developing this idea of how to create something that would change the religion altogether to be more accurate, but also, what is it? It would destroy the prejudice of and the persecution that has been given by the Christian faith throughout history, the Crusades, witch hunts and trials, and Christian nationalists and all that jazz. That's a modern one, but it kind of relates. Probably has been happening all over the world. Someone replied to my post on this evidence thing. Evidence. Oh, yeah. Sorry, there was a YouTube post that I commented on. Oh, no! Of someone discovered, it was kind of explaining that the world was flooded. There was a world flood, but there isn't any evidence for a world flood, right? That's the issue. But a lot of civilizations have talked about a big flood, a great flood. So it makes you wonder, why did they say this, and why did different religions and civilizations claim this thing? Well, there's two reasons, if you don't know. One is that when you are a small civilization before the internet, your world is very small. Before you can sail boats and all that kind of stuff, which the Mayans and Aztecs, they traveled, but they did not travel beyond the waters and stuff like that. And Columbus, he thought he could sail this earth and go to India, but he ended up striking land and calling the Native Americans or indigenous Indians first. And Christians thought the world was flat and all this kind of stuff. So that's based off the idea that they could not travel and explore, and then the waters seem endless. If you've ever been to the beach and looked out into the ocean, it seems like it will go on forever. And if you were stuck in the ocean, your only ability to navigate is the stars and the sun. So, yeah, when the heavy rains come and they might wash your civilization away, you're going to think that there was a great flood, especially if there is a tsunami or something like that attacking you. This is what's going to be written down. That's one explanation. The other one, which I find kind of compelling, can't say it's true, I'm not going to say it's true, but it is compelling, is that Pangea, when the continents were formed in a more of a one structure continent, you've got to remember that the rest of the earth was water then, right? The rest of the earth would be all water, and then you'd have a collection of Pangea here that would separate into the 7 continents. Okay? And I would imagine that if civilization on Pangea, which can't make sense. This is where it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense because Pangea was probably before the dinosaurs, right? I need to figure that out. Was the Pangea before the dinosaurs? Let's look that up real quick. Was Pangea before dinosaurs existed? Oh, perfect. Someone asked the question. So Pangea was 200 million years ago, which was well after the Triassic period was winding down. Oh, interesting. So Pangea formed 350 million years ago, and the first rifting occurred 200 million years ago. By then, the Triassic ended and the Jurassic was beginning. So yes, dinosaurs existed before the breakup of Pangea. Boom! I've got my answer. I don't know if that's true, though. This is all, Yes, so dinosaurs, man, these guys are old, and we still have their bones. That's wild. So that was my theory. That's my theory. That's my theory that I've developed because I'm trying to figure it out, right? As well as everyone's trying to figure out these kind of things because it's fun to think about. If it wasn't fun to think about, no one would think about it. So yeah, um, the world broke up into. So what I was saying was that like the likelihood of the flood being something that covered Pangea, or even when Pangea was breaking apart and the Triassic period was ending, maybe even, and dinosaurs dying, does that mean cavemen were not around during the Jurassic times or thereafter? Um, like we have evidence of man being kind of a caveman creatures long ago, but how far did they extend further than that? The truth is that as much as archaeology is we're trying to figure out what's happening and what there is, you have to remember that the earth is always changing and being destroyed and being rebuilt. Volcanoes are erupting, earthquakes, and everything's happening. So a lot of information is being lost in time. And there's a lot being found and discovered today because of technology, which is super cool. I think that one of the greatest advancements of technology is helping us understand how we got here and everything was formulated. Who doesn't like dinosaurs, right? Except some over-religious people who think that never existed and they were planted by... I actually have people and friends that think that dinosaurs is a plant by the government and they're not real. That's crazy. I also have some friends who actually think the earth is flat, and I told them to get on a freaking airplane. Like, it doesn't take you half a second to get on an airplane, get up in the sky, and realize there's a curvature. And they're like, well, that's the curvature from your eyeball. No, it's not from my eyeball, because if that was the case, I would be seeing this everywhere. When I look outside, it doesn't work that way. And plus, we've been to space. Like, what are you talking about? And then, of course, people believe we haven't been to space. That would take away a lot of jobs, and it would discredit a lot of these people who've spent their whole lives working for these organizations. Now, have we been to the moon? I don't know about that one. I think we have. Now, what's on the other side of the moon? That's the real kicker, isn't it, huh? See, I believe the whole idea that they're definitely hiding something. And I think it's military driven because if you can hide anything, hide it on the moon. It's far away, but not far away enough that we can't get signal there and get some bases there and stuff. And what's more powerful than having a satellite military base far away from danger, right, of nuclear war on Earth and stuff? I mean, I could be just imagining these things, but I like to think that that may be true. That's just it. What do you think? You think the moon is a megastructure, or just a moon that doesn't rotate? Which confuses me why the moon doesn't rotate. Everything else seems to rotate on the planet, and in all of atoms and molecules and everything seems to be vibrating, but the moon doesn't rotate? Is that right? I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. A lot of things don't make sense to me, though. Okay, so... Do I have comments on? I don't even have my YouTube up. Let's, Oh, yeah, there we go. Ooh, don't want that sound on. Yeah. When I was younger, actually the artist that I built this trading card game with, my friend Jesse Perry, the artist, him and I used to watch these documentaries on string theory and conspiracy theories and all kinds of stuff when we were early 20s, and it's interesting to see that it's still quite prevalent today in people's minds that of these theories. and different dimensions and all that jazz. I've heard that, you know, believers of the faith, Charlie, hey, no, hey, you got a cold too? What's with your throat? You got some phlegm? Hey, I'm looking at you. You calm down, huh? I'm recording here. What? No, it's not time yet, bud. No, but you can save 15% or more if you switch over to Geico. Did you know that, Charlie? Mm-hmm. You should think about it. My dog needs insurance. But it's expensive to pay for dog insurance. You know, it must have been very cool to be part of the Greek mythology back in the day, with Zeus and everyone worshiping like Aphrodite and Hermes, and Hercules was a tail, you know, and oh my gosh, could you just imagine how fun of a culture that might have been? I think one thing that makes me depressed more than anything is the idea that this life is fleeting. For me, I'm already halfway through my life, you know, I'm about to be 40, and it's sad, you know, because it's not sad because actually what makes it sad is that I only have one life, and a lot of us have one life, and I see everyone just using it to struggle and survive, especially if you come from countries where you don't have anything and don't have food and don't have these things where they could take away the weight of stress away from you, and you could pursue the things like art and dance and stuff that you want to do, things as a child was meant to do, rather work and become bitter and angry at the world and have to just tear your way through it just to survive. I don't think creation was meant to do that, right? But if we look at nature and animals, we see animals do their thing, they get eaten, and done, end of the story. But while there might be some, sorry, someone just texted me that just threw me off. I don't even know what I was talking about. That thing just threw me off. Why? I'm gonna go fix the website apparently. I broke my number one rule. Don't go into business with friends. Man, stupid. I'm stupid about that one thing. Gosh. Anyways, if you don't know, I have a trading card game called I Am Champion TCG. You can find it on YouTube or the website. Running tournaments soon, and it's stressful, out of my control. Like, it's insane stress, insane amount of stress for me, because I'm practically running the entire game by myself right now. And anywho, that's not your problem, that's my problem. All right, let's move on to coloring this bad boy in. My brush, brushy brush, nope, brushy brush, brushy brush, here we go. I don't know what I was talking about before that text message, but whatever it was, you can fill in the blanks. I think I was talking about mythology and being a part of that world. Oh yeah, what makes me depressed? The most depressing thing is that I only get one chance at this life, and I spend it most of the time working, trying to pay off bills and debt. If you're a student, you know what I'm talking about. Paying off your school debt is no different from getting in the real world than just building debt. You just have debt and it sucks. Living in Los Angeles, not the smartest idea. Because it just takes every penny you have. In every way it does. Even the rich people here are like, what is happening with this place? They just take. There's taxes and fees and all kinds of stuff for everything, and everything costs 3 times as much than the rest of the United States. Like a burger. A normal burger with bacon should not be $15 to $17 without fries. I should pay $15 to $17 to get fries, a drink, a really meaty burger with cheese and bacon, and it makes me hungry, for that price, not just the burger alone. And the burger usually comes out just a thin, slappy, sloppy patty. Ugh. And then they expect you to tip them. Everywhere you go, there's a tip option on everything. Even the gas pumps where I'm pumping feels like there's a tip there. I'm like, why do I need to tip you for me to do your job or my job or whatever this is? Why am I tipping? I don't understand. Oh, my wife just reminded me there's pasta in the fridge. Yeah. So I'm getting hungry. But what makes me sad is that I don't get to experience history. That I'm stuck in 2024. You know, I am very thankful. I am extremely thankful that I got to experience life before the internet. Yeah. I think the internet it's a blessing for knowledge, but it's also ruined connection with family, friends, and creativity in so many ways. Because now we're all just judging each other of how good we are because we can see everyone around the world what they're doing, and we can talk to them instantly, so there's no pursuit to know them more than an email or a text message. I love the time that I was able to just call a friend on the phone, and he would pick up if he wanted to talk to me. And if he didn't pick up, that means most likely he wasn't home. But nowadays, when you call someone, if they don't pick up, you know they're just being a jerk and not picking up because they don't want to talk to you. There's no excuse because you're calling them on their cell phone, which they have available at all times. I have a friend who I grew up with, who was like my brother, and don't know why, but when I message him, I can see he sees my text message because this shows that he's looking at it or he read it, and then he just won't respond for days. And then he'll be like, "Oh man, I lost my phone or something." I'm like, "You didn't lose your phone? I saw you looking at it and you just posted. What are you talking about?" I just wish we can go back to like no internet, no phones, writing letters, postcards. It was just a simpler time. I'm thankful that I got to experience it, but like I was mentioning before, what makes me depressed is that I want to experience this stuff. I wish I could see what Spartans were thinking and doing. I wish I could see what Athens looked like and the biblical tales, you know. I wish I could see a lot of history and experience it and be a part of it. Because I think there's so much beauty in it. There's a lot of war and crazy diseases and bad stuff too, but if you can bypass some of that, we have that today, you know, pandemics and all. But imagine if you could be there at the, you know, in Spain when the conquistadors and all these other people were trying to explore the world and trying to claim land, and the queens and kings were going to war with other countries to battle for whatever reason, and it's so amazing. It's and Shakespeare, you know, and he was writing these plays, and I don't think I'd want to be in the Shakespeare time period because it's just a lot of disease and grossness, and no one was clean. That's disgusting. Thank goodness for the invention of soap, which is the greatest invention, if you didn't know that. Or Vikings, you know? Be around the time of Vikings. How cool would that be? All right, so we're here at the point where I got to shade in a lot of this. The question is, do I want to detail this? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to blacken all this in. But I don't want to go make him too dark because there will be a lot of black behind him. And I'm going to detail him quite heavily with the thin Copic, or the 01. But I blacked out, showing that these things can be black and get away with it. I don't know if that's going to be black. I might start off black closer to the leg and then start getting into cross hatching. We're going to have to see when we get to that road. But yeah, I just wish I got to experience all these different time periods, you know? Bill and Ted style. Let's get in a phone booth and just... If you don't know what Bill and Ted is, Bill and Ted is a movie. It's a couple movies with the great Keanu Reeves. And, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name now. Oh my goodness, forgive me. He's a great actor. Oh my goodness, my brain just... Anyways. Hilarious, fun. Maybe it doesn't translate today's humor. Then again, today we don't have much humor anymore. But yeah, wouldn't it be cool to experience history firsthand? So, if there is a God, and I do get to meet him, I'm going to reason with him to allow me to go back in time and explore these things. And if time is linear like that, well, I'm pissed. Another thing is that my wifey is because I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, thanks, Megatron. I appreciate it. Thanks for returning and watching. Super appreciate it. And if you haven't checked out, if you like cooking stuff, the young lady, Charlotte Kim, there has an amazing channel called Charlotte Takes a Bite. It's really good. She's a great cook, great chef, very sweet, very pretty to look at, so kudos to her. Very encouraging. Charlie, is that the cable I need? I bet you it's my cable. It better be the washers for the oil change, because I need the oil change done. Charlie, hey, he hears you. No, we don't have to tip him. He's Amazon. This dog. So LA he is. Telling me I have to tip the Amazon guy. You ever get a pug? They have a lot of personality. I feel like Frenchies do too. So I've gone longer than an hour. That's because I'm kind of on a flow state, and I don't want to backtrack a little bit and get lost. Oh yeah, I was trying to do live stream and I couldn't figure out why. I thought my camera was broken. I was getting so mad, like I was like screaming at my camera system in OBS Studio, and I found out I just had to restart the computer. just restart the computer and then it detects my camera again. Who knew? Gotta get some blacks in here because you have to separate the hairs. I know, Charles. I know. You're bored. He's so bored out of his mind. He needs a friend. He's got his ball in his mouth, waiting for me to like throw it or do something, but he knows I'm sitting down. Pugs are one of the best cuddlers if you have dogs. Cuddling with a pug is super great because the size of a pug fits right on your chest and your stomach, and he's warm, and my dog at least likes to put his head right on my shoulder, just like a pillow, and we can just sleep there like that, which gives me practice for when I have my own kids and they want to do that, because I always worry about my arm going numb and me having to toss the kiddo out, and being rude, but a dog is good practice as long as the head's not too heavy. Have an egghead kid and then I'm in trouble. Okay, so now we've got some separation here. I think I want to brush this in. You gotta be careful to make sure the strokes are going with the hairs. I thought about actually doing Godzilla because I just watched the Godzilla -1 recently, and it was amazing. And then I just went through King Kong versus Godzilla. I went through all the most recent American Godzilla movies. I watched them all. I'm a big monster fan. I'm a big Godzilla fan. You can check out my exo.chocolam Instagram, and I have this drawing of that. I never actually finished, but it's got Godzilla and Zanger and who else? Godzilla, King Kong, and the other big monster characters. Ultraman. I love Ultraman. Ultraman's the best. Alright, so now we have the shadows put in, the blacks, the darks. This gives us a very strong base to start finally detailing in some of these details. And the cool thing is you want to, like for the helmet here, you want to brush upwards to get those lines to feel like they're going outwards. And you can see I kind of cracked on one of them and slanted it, but you're not going to notice that unless you get super up close and want to nitpick at my art. Yeah, it's not bad. And then I'll just do some of the arms so you can get the idea of where I'm going with this. There we go. All right. So when you're doing this, to make sure that the strokes go correctly, I flipped over the page because you can see that the brush marker will leave these strokes, and if you counter those strokes by making lines this way, it's just going to look a little bit more tacky than it should. And that's my own perception of it, but you'll get it, you'll see. And then I pull down these lines and pull up at the end, and then you should have a nice gradient. Can I zoom in? Let's see if I can zoom in for you guys so you can really see what's going on. Oh, it's already pretty zoomed in. Okay. It's not in the best focus. Let's focus it a little bit better. And then I'm going to brighten it up just a tad. Nope. No, we'll stay there. Okay. There's actually a gentleman I follow now on YouTube. He does all these really cool weapon demonstrations, and he's ripped out of control. So he looks like a Spartan, and he like literally does everything without a shirt. But he's like completely ripped, fully fair to do that. If I looked like that, I would never wear a shirt ever. But I mentioned because he uses like lances and spears and swords, and he does all these cool things to explain the weapons of ancient times and Spartans and all that kind of stuff. And while he explains it, he does the action like they would really fight it. And I told him he should do a posing book where all his actions are in poses, because artists would eat that up. He said I can use any of his movements and screenshot him and use him as a model pretty much. So that makes me excited, because I'm for sure going to be using that gentleman as a reference, because he does all these videos. I can just screenshot it, and I have a perfect pose with weapon in hand, original. And he's got long hair too, and I'm like, whoa, he is every comic book artist's dream. I gotta figure out his name and who. I don't know. I bet you can probably just YouTube someone like that, and he's probably the first one that pops up. Quite popular, but it's really cool because you can hear he's doing it with his kids, and his kids are learning about history as well as learning what these weapons did. He just did a recent one, I think, of the sling, of ancient slingshots and how devastating they are, because they're just pretty much a rope with a little slit in the middle of the rope that holds the rock, and if you swing it fast enough and let go of one side, and that thing goes whoosh. It's kind of like the ancient times gun. Probably even worse, because if you did get hit that, I mean, not worse, it can't be worse than a gun. Gun's gonna just kill you, but getting hit with one of those stones at 100 miles an hour would mess up your day pretty bad. I mean, you probably wouldn't survive it, but if you did, you will never get near a guy with a sling again. All right. So I got his chest here. I probably should do, but the chest needs to be in an angle like this. Yeah, so it's looking good. And what I'm going to do is, now that I've got this new cord, I just ordered a new cord that was longer for my Sony camera. The Sony picture quality is better than my Blackmagic here, and the reason why is because the Blackmagic is just a soft touch of cinematic look, and it's meant for my documentaries and other real cinematic footage. It is not meant for a vlog or a clean image as much as it is meant to make it feel cinematic in like a movie. So that's what I'm using right now, and you can tell there's a lot less contrast in the image, and it's not as clear. So forgive me on that, but hopefully tomorrow when I do the next live stream, you'll have the Sony image, and you're going to see a lot crisper lines, and there's not going to be this, I can get closer and stuff. So yeah, thank you for being patient, and thank you for watching. I just posted on the Horus image on my Instagram, and I'm trying to show the starting image kind of looked goofy when you first saw it. I thought it looked goofy. I was like, is this going to turn out right? But then once you start putting in details, it is fantastic because it really comes together. So never give up on your art. Never give up on a piece, actually. Your piece can always be salvaged. Da Vinci said there's no art is ever complete, just abandoned. Yeah, I think he said that. Forgive me if I'm misquoting someone else. Good news is my sniffles are gone. I'm no longer sick. I think the coffee did it. Yes. Okay. Let's continue here. And oh yeah, his cape. Don't want to lose that in the blacks. You know, I follow some artists, and there are like this Japanese artist who just doesn't even talk; he just draws. He's got like 57,000 viewers that watch it. Like at one time when he's watching, he's got like a couple thousand people watching him, and he's not even talking. And his drawing is just, it takes forever. He's like 3 hours on there, but people watch it, and he's probably making bank off of just, you know, having fun. I love that. I love when artists can enjoy their styles and their creativity and not worry about having to go into a 9 to 5 and stuff. That's the dream, right? But like I said earlier in the video, I've been conjuring up this plan since I was 6 or 7 about changing culture and religion altogether. Oh, the Christian culture, and the story that I've been building out for the drawn out Bible that has all the books, Enoch and everybody in it. One big collection also is going to be telling the story of the angel side of things and the demon side of things, like the war between them and what Michael was doing, what Lucifer was doing, who they were as as creatures created by the universe and God and all this kind of stuff, and how they play into today. I think a lot of today we fantasize about demons and angels because we watch too much movies, right? But angels do not have swords and shields and all that nonsense. We take certain Bible scriptures and we have turned it, oh, they wrestled with them, or this was a man, looked like a man, or whatever, or this was in a field. But most angels were terrifying to look at. They even say it. Every time an angel comes into the Bible, you'll see it says, fear not, right? Fear not. Don't be afraid. Don't freak out. Because they were not something pretty to look at, and they were oftentimes just intense. And I want to draw accurate angels, accurate demons, because demons aren't these creepy creatures with tails and red and horns and all that stuff. They're actually beautiful. They're actually more likely to be beautiful women and beautiful creatures. Solomon had conjured up a few to build out the temple of God, and he had to bring up some very powerful demons in order to help build this thing because it was such a difficult structure he was trying to do. And the process of conjuring up a demon is kind of hard. So when people think like, oh, you just get a Ouija board, it's going to bring demons. No. It's a lot harder than that. You'll scare yourself, out of some sleep, but it's not how it works. And you can ask any witch and Wiccan how to do witchcraft, and they're going to be like, yeah, that's not, that's just TV and movies. But demons are usually beautiful creatures, and because they're meant to be enticing and very sexual and very persuasive in what they're getting to you. As for angels, though, they're much more difficult to conjure up and more dangerous, actually. Most don't know that there has been great attempts to conjure up angels, but angels have a higher price to pay because you're conjuring up God in a sense, and his so-called soldiers or his angels. And when angels come into play, they're not nice. They're not these like they're like, hey, yeah, you conjure me, you got me for a little bit of time, but I'm taking something in return if you don't do this or that, or if you fail to accomplish this or finish this sacrifice, all this stuff. But most people don't hear about that because they don't study other texts of the ancient time and people who've practiced it. And esoterica is an amazing subject to study, and there's a YouTube channel of esoterica that you should follow by Dr. Sledge. Sledge? Oh man. Forgive me, Sledge, if I said your name wrong, but check him out. He gives every kind of cool thing about esoteric teachings and knowledge, especially about the faiths and different faiths. If you're not Christian, that's fine. I think he does it through the Hindu gods and every kind of different type of god that affects religion, and he does a lot of witchcraft stuff. Not like he does witchcraft, but he talks about it and talks about understanding it. And the lesser keys of Solomon, Jewish tradition, all that. And I love it. I eat it up. But I can never repost his stuff because it's so complex and deep that no one's going to watch it that is my community. That it's hard to explain. They just wouldn't do it. I wish they would. They would learn a lot, but yeah. You can't win everyone over. Esoterica. I'm very thankful that people are teaching this stuff. It's helped me understand my faith a lot better, understand my religion aspects better, and also prove a lot of points that I've always thought was true and finally have proven right, which is nice to finally feel, because I always felt like I was wrong being a part of a church, because I'd ask these questions to pastors and priests and they would give me some really uneducated baloney theology that they've created. But now that I know that there's text out there and they've been translated from ancient text and other experiences, I can actually learn correctly the things that I want to learn. Because no one ever thought about it. It's like, Christ, an example, he fed thousands and he walked on water and he water into wine. But since then, nobody's done it, yet he said that people would do greater things than him. And yet no one's done anything greater than him. So that makes me wonder, was there a magic element to the ancient times? And I think there was. The whole Bible's full of magic. That's what people don't really realize. It's magic. It's magic, magic, magic. A staff that turns into a serpent. You look at a serpent staff and you're healed and not going to die. All these kind of weird things that are in the Bible that people just pass over and think that, oh, that was just, that's a godly thing. It's like, no, you wouldn't say that if God wasn't attached to it, you'd say that's witchcraft. But we make excuses because we want to create the theology we want to create, as I've said multiple times. So, what did the Spartans believe in that was wacky? Well, a lot. The agoge was intense, but the spiritual world that they did was even more intense. See, what time is it? It's 12:46. It is definitely time for me to get off. Let me finish up this last part of the Spartan logo, or his lambda pendant that's holding his cape on. Gotta make sure that when I start tomorrow I don't get confused, so I have to finish up parts that I know are vital to the drawing. Anyways, again, thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate all of you. All two of you. One is enough for me. And even that, I do it for myself. The way I figured, if nobody watches, period, it shouldn't hurt me, because if I ever have kids, or and in the future someone might stumble across it and it might help them. I don't know. But I can't predict the future. I'm not a prophet or a psychic or anything like that. So after this, I have to go do the oil, not the oil change, the laundry, and then build out a new resume so I can get a job that's better. I want to work for a museum. I'm trying to work for Jim Henson as anything, but the museum has a job. You know how they put the structures of the animals in there, and they kind of put the artifacts in the glass and all that stuff. That's a job of a technician, and I don't know if I have the right experience for it, but I am going to apply as hard as I can for that because I think that would be an amazing job to do. Hey, Arnold! King Jesus, magic X power of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Oh. I like these little emojis you're using, Arnold. That's adorable. The little guy at the end's waving at me. But yeah. Yeah. Props to Arnold. And congrats for the wifey convert. That's rad, man. Bet you're stoked. Very good friend there from Korea. If you haven't been to Korea, go to Korea. You're gonna love it. Just don't be a foreigner who just abuses, thinking that they can take America over there or their country's perceptions over to Korea. Respect Korea. Not that Korea will respect you though. I got yelled at all the time by Korean people just for literally nothing, just standing there. And they saw me, they're like, I should yell at this guy. They come over and yell at me. That's just me though. I doubt they would do that to anyone else. Foreigners are usually treated like princes and kings there, especially if you're a beautiful white person. Yeah, not joking at all. I'm not lying one bit. One of my buddies was Serbian. He's white, blue-eyed, beautiful figure for this white man, and they hired him to teach English, even though he couldn't speak English. He spoke Serbian, so his English was like, "Hello, we are going to school today. Hi, 1, 2, 3," like that. And he got paid more money than I got paid because of the color of his skin. And because that's what sells at these schools. The parents they don't care if you could speak English. They don't care one little lick. They just want you to look like you speak English. Yeah. But I think things have changed these days. I think they've realized that different ethnicities can speak English just fine, if not better. You don't have to be white. But that's whenever I was there, so. Okay. I think we're good for now. I think we're good. So this part here on his chest needs to be colored in by a cross-hatching technique. And if you're like been waiting for me to do the cross-hatching technique, here you go. I'll just do it real quick. Flip the page over, and then remember you're going to flow with the skin. Now, my brother here may think that he's getting a tattoo, something simple. And if he doesn't like this, the cool thing is I can scan this into my iPad and actually color in all these places and erase the cross-hatching areas to give him a more simple tattoo. But honestly, if the artist or the tattoo artist is actually skilled enough, he should be able to do this cross-hatching technique and create one beautiful, brilliant tattoo. Not really sure why someone would want a Spartan tattoo, but to each their own. If I was going to get a tattoo, I'd probably get a tattoo of probably my dog's faces, all my dog's faces. I love my dogs. They're my best friends. They're my little angels. Okay, so you can see here now that this has turned into a cloth pattern because it's perfectly done that way, right? It's perfectly crosshatched. This is not the final end of it. What you'll end up doing is you need to create one more diagonal that's going to complicate the cross-hatching to remind the eye that this is not cloth but a shading technique on skin. In order to do that, I have to actually start doing the same technique here but have it faded into white. Okay, so what it'll look like is like that. Not fully done, but then once it's done, you'll start separating. It'll start separating, right? Because a lot of this will be the cross hatching. Oh, you know what? This is a perfect example here. And then I can and do that enough, and it won't look like texture, right? And will be saved. Now I could just leave the cape all white and not ever put any texture on it, which I may actually do, which will mean this dark part right here, I'll have to make that white because the lambda symbol right here will be all black to make visible the raindrops. Anywho, let me love on that one right there. Shibuya. Let's keep on giving love. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating in my. How long have I been on? Oh my gosh, I've been on for 2 hours, not 1 hour. All right, let's end this. That's a great session. We got a good amount done. Not as much as I wanted to, but we talked about some really good topics I think I wanted you guys to hear. And as I move forward, I'm not going to talk about this stuff because it's just should be self-explanatory. My hands are pruned in those gloves. The reason why I wear those gloves, first, I don't want ink and stuff spreading everywhere. And secondly, my hands are gross in the sense that like they just look old and look at this on screen. Look at that. I look yellow. I look weird. But thank you guys for watching. Remember that you are creatives. You are the masters of your day. And love people. Love your art. Love your life. Because you only got one of them. And I will see you tomorrow. Okay?